Welcome to Rucks, Balls and Oval Balls. We're back with some more rugby nonsense on the fans' favourite rugby podcast, brought to you by the fans' favourite rugby podcast hosts. Yes, it's me again. It's Dave, back as ever, joined by the great Rory. Rory, introduce yourself.
Hello, yes, I'm Rory. Hello, listeners. Hello,
the great
David.
Rory. The great Rory. I give you a big build-up.
I am El Rory Magnifico.
There we go.
I'm just delighted to be here.
Fantastic. Well, where else would you rather be?
Nowhere.
Exactly. Well, first of all, I guess let's start with you, Rory. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad you came to me first. I've got loads to say. No rugby for me at the weekend, playing-wise. Obviously, break for some fairly major games going on in the international arena.
Yeah, I'm sure we might touch on them.
Right. I spent most of last week in France, in Cannes, where...
Did any listener come and join you?
Not listeners, a few locals, and a few Irish people who worked in Irish pubs in Cannes.
Fantastic.
Because I assimilate.
You really absorbed the local culture.
Yeah, 100%. Le Guinness, please.
Yeah.
S'il vous plaît.
Very good.
Very nice time over in Cannes. Obviously, it was just for work, so not a holiday, which would be just as well, because I have to say the weather in the south of France did not stand up to the hopes and dreams of Raw.
Oh dear.
Hammered it down.
So it's your fault, and you've brought it home with you, and which is why we've got that now, I'm guessing.
Yes, I'm afraid. You
are 100% fallible for our poor weather.
I brought the weather with me. I'm sorry.
God damn it, Rory. But, I'm glad you had a nice time, enjoyed a few Le Guinnesses.
Thanks ever so much.
Nice.
Should we dive into it, or did you have any news yourself, David?
Well, I do have a little bit of news. So, obviously, the baby came along, so that's news.
Le bébé?
Le bébé, and not Louis Bielbiere, the actual Le bébé. He's turned up. I'm going to respect his rights to not be plastered all over the internet at the grand old age of 6 days old and kind of portray his name and face all over the internet, which is why I've not put anything out there, per se. But yes, very much enjoy it. I've been regaling him with tales of the 2003 England World Cup final. He fell asleep. I've been talking to him about the dramatic Bloodgate scandal of Harlequins. He fell asleep. Spoke to him about Saracens and their salary cap scandal. He fell asleep. Played him a little bit of the Rucks, Balls and Oval Balls podcast. He fell asleep.
I've got something that might keep him awake, David. Have you talked to him about the Essex University first team scrum in circa 2011?
I haven't quite.
That's a rip-roaring tale.
It is a rip-roaring tale. I'm saving the Derby Day 2012 performance by the University of Essex front row. Men of the match performance for really desperate times. But yes, very much.
I envy him hearing that for the first time.
Oh, I know. It's some things in life you really pinch yourself and kind of you look back and say, oh, where was I when DMJ and Big Raw were tearing up trees at the brilliant Wivenhoe Fields? I can't remember what they're called now.
Something like that.
So yeah,
I'll tell you where we were, David. We were at the Coalface.
We were at the Coalface, and we will dine out on that for days. So yeah, obviously operating slightly in sleep deprivation zone, but that has not got in the way of me watching a lot of rugby. And why let something like that get in the way of one of my other loves in life, that being the rugby. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk Six Nations, because that kicked off this weekend, Rory. I don't know if you realised.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting stuff. And we're not going to talk Prem Rugby Cup. I'm not expecting anyone to be sighing at that sound. We'll do a little bit on the under-20s. We might touch on the A fixture. We'll do some predictions. We might look at our fantasy rugby stuff. We may do a team of the week. We'll see how we go. But the meat and veg of this podcast, people, is going to be those three fixtures this weekend from the Six Nations. What do you say, Rory? Do we just get straight into it, head first, in the deep end?
Let's dive in, David.
We're going to dive in. We're going to dive in straight away. And we're going to start off with the Thursday night kickoff. France versus Ireland. And I will say I am very glad that my son was born just in time for me to walk through the front door of my house and turn on the telly with 30 minutes before kickoff. It's like he knew his first gift to me. It was fantastic. What did you make of the curtain raiser of this year's Six Nations competition?
Well, as you can see, David, I have donned Le Bleu jersey today
have.
because I'm in love with the French fullback. Thomas Ramos is my new man crush.
Wow.
I am besotted. He's so good. As an occasion, so I was in France for this game, so I was watching this in an Irish pub in Cannes, obviously full of the locals. Right, the French do night games well.
Yeah.
Latmos was superb. I think they just put on an occasion so well.
Okay. Are you talking just the pub you went to in Cannes, or are you just talking in general, the fixture?
The way the game came across on the telly, just the way they sort of put the atmosphere together as the teams came out onto the pitch, I just thought it was great.
Yeah.
I like that they changed the light to green when it was Ireland's anthem. I love La Marseillaise. I think it's probably the best anthem in the world.
Yeah.
French rugby games at night just hit different, and I'm fine with it being on a Thursday as well. That absolutely is fine by me. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. No qualms for me a bit on a Thursday. I perfectly understand. There is the other thing going on at the same time with the Winter Olympics. They want to arrange it so people can enjoy all those things.
People like a toboggan. And fair enough.
People like a toboggan. And people like watching French rugby at night. Rory attests to it. What about the display on the pitch? We're not talking about the display in the stands, Rory. We're not talking about the lighting display. We're talking about the display on the pitch. Did that do the event justice?
Well,
or did half the teams turn up?
Yeah, if you're of a French persuasion or even a neutral's persuasion, yes, because oh my God, France were good.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
really good.
Just that blend of like physicality and artistry that sort of they do so well when they're playing at their best. We'll go into Ireland a bit more detail. Ireland, let's not pull any punches. Ireland were pretty poor on the day, but you'd have been hard pressed to have been good against a France team in that kind of mood. They were phenomenal. I thought
they were. And before the game started, and when we saw the squads announced, it's like there's parts of me thinking like, what are they going to miss when they're dropping the likes of Gregory Aldrit or Gail Ficou? And I, a bit in my head, thought, are they going to lose a little bit in the power game? Are they going to lose a bit in the carrying game? No, they're not. Some of the players really, really stood up and kind of took the mantle on that. I think specifically for me, if we're going to go diving straight into someone who I think deserves a little bit of a shout out, I know you've already given Thomas Ramos a bit of a shout out for being a new man crush, but one player who just continues to impress me in a France shirt is Mikel Guillard.
Well, I mean, we called him out last week in the kickoff, and he delivered in spades. So he only played an hour of that game, but what an impact! I think he carried more than anyone else. But it's the manner of his carries.
Yeah,
he fully accelerates into contact. Like, he uses every kilogram available to him.
Yeah, just
like his impact on the Irish defensive line was phenomenal, and he obviously got an assist for Olivon's try, which is a lovely little. It starts with Jalibert chipping and chasing. He doesn't quite regather it, gathers it, but he tips it back and he goes to Gross, I think.
Yeah.
Gross pops out to Guillard, who just accelerates, and he leaves the Irish backline for dust, basically, and then tips it. He's got the choice then of going wide to Assogby or tipping it inside to Olivon. I think either of them would have scored the try, but Olivon dives in the corner with Doris sort of clutching at thin air. Yeah. His impact on that game was, I think, more than even you and I expected of him when we were talking him up last week. He was just incredible in a pack that generally performed well. I mean, I thought the whole back row.
Yeah,
I thought Kroos was just physical and nuggety and a nuisance. Giroud, who I was surprised to see start because I assumed Olivon would start at 7 and they'd start Miafa in the run. I thought Giroud was just great across the whole game. He's
everywhere.
Just so rangy. Yeah, absolutely everywhere. And then Jalonche is just a classy number. It's just absolute class. Just Jalonche.
So are France onto something here? Because we've talked about like South Africa with their hybrid players. And are France looking at something here that is kind of being unlooked at, where obviously Mikel Guillard and they played Charles Olivon in the second row. These are both players that are able to operate at test level at number 8. Is that their way of basically packing their back 5 of the pack with just absolute devastating ball carriers? Is this a different twinge to the hybrid player, or is it just lucky that they've got these sorts of players at their disposal?
I mean, I think a bit of both. So, because France have always favoured tall back rowers, you don't actually get a lot of sub 6 foot back rowers at the international level in France. You know, if you think back to any of their greats, you know, the Dusatoirs, the Picamoles, you know, they're generally
big guys,
tall. Yeah, they you know, that is just the style of player that France like, because they don't really play with an open side and a blind side as like we would think of it in the UK. They play left and right flankers. Yeah. So for them, there's no great distinction between the two positions. What that means is you have a plethora of back rowers who are as tall as most decent locks. I mean, Guillard and Olivon are both 6'5" plus.
Easily.
They're good. They're good lock sizes and they're strong boys. But because they're so mobile, they're so impactful on the pitch. And I think all whispers about the potential fallibility of the French scrum were in vain, because we speculated that they might well go to Azzurri as an out-and-out scrummaging prop, and it proved more than enough for the Irish scrum.
He had one moment out in open pasture as well. I noticed he had a little bit of moment where he had ball in hand, which was like, whoa, big moment for him.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him with the ball in hand before.
No.
But so I think it's a bit of, they're lucky that they have these kind of players who could easily step into that position. But I do wonder whether they are considering specifically how to counter South Africa, much like England are doing.
Yeah.
Having someone like Miafu on the bench is an interesting move by them, because when he came on, I don't think it was Miafu's best game he'll ever play in a France shirt. I don't think he wasn't breaking down doors, but he was offloading a hell of a lot. I wonder if they're trying to work out how they can build a squad of forwards specifically to counter South Africa. You know, as basically everyone is at this point. Yeah. Let's be frank. That's what everyone's goal is at the moment. You know, to bring on Miafi and Aradu, who I'm familiar with. Nushi I was less familiar with, but didn't look out of place when he was on the pitch either.
He's a very combative back rower. He's one of those players that's really well liked within France, but hasn't really been given much of a shot in the France shirt. So I think he was quite well. It was a well liked pick for the squad from the French fans.
I think he absolutely performed on the day. But you know, accepting the fact that Ireland didn't really turn up, if we're being frank about it. Yeah. But the French pack on Thursday to me was scary, and I was chatting to my old man about this. He's a francophile and an old rugby coach at a good level. We're talking about it's their ability to turn slow ball into fast ball surpasses anyone else. Because they have a kicking game. We know they kick a lot. Yeah. I think probably second to England this week. But actually, when they want to turn slow ball into fast ball with ball in hand, their ability to pick from 3 or 4 options of how to play it around the ruck. So you'll often see them, they'll do quick pick and goes. They'll go one man, but Gigout's one, I noticed do this at one point. The ball was placed by the player on facing the left-hand touchline. Gigout picks sort of over the top and from the right-hand side, picks it and at an angle that goes outwards away from the ruck. And he does it really, really quickly. Basically, almost as soon as the ruck was formed, he's picked and gone. He didn't give the Irish defence any opportunity to set. And he's also marginally spread the defence a bit further. It's a really small thing, but they'll do things like that quite often. Or they'll do a quick 2-man pick and go in a more conventional sense. Or Dupont will slightly bounce, draw someone in and pass the ball. And all these little things, that because they use so many different options of how to play slow ball, they create impact in the contact continuously. So the Irish defence was constantly going backwards, even when they'd had slowed the ball up on some occasions, which they weren't able to do a lot. France hit the breakdown so effectively, completely nullified Ireland for large parts of the game. I think I saw Doris got a couple of turnovers, but Van der Fleer was largely anonymous. I thought.
Yeah, completely agree.
Type Byrne was largely anonymous. We know what jackal threat he is. Their ability to manage the breakdown and then speed the ball up, and everyone seems to understand implicitly what it is the other player is about to do. So they hit breakdown so quickly, and then suddenly the ball's quick and it's gone, and then all of a sudden you've got the ball in Dupont's hand, Jalibert's hands, Ramos's hands. You've got Mofana and Deporter, who, we thought Gorges might get the shout this week.
Yeah.
But Mofana and Deporter, the Bordeaux centres, were phenomenal. And, Irish fans, I'll say it in advance, I agree there should have been some replays on some of those tries. But you can't take anything away from how good Mofana and Deporter were. Deporter's bigger than I thought he was. He was tall.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
But that's what really impresses me the most about France. For all of they do such amazing things when they're playing expansively in the balls, and we know they can do that, right? There's no secret that France have amazing handling players. But for me, what was continuously impressive in this game was against a defence as well drilled as Ireland's typically is, and as physical as Ireland's typically is, and as dangerous as Ireland typically would be at the breakdown. France constantly generated quick ball, and Ireland couldn't lay a glove on them. And that is a frightening prospect to think that if this France team has worked the formula that means that even set defences can't repel them, it is very difficult to look past them winning virtually a game against virtually every team they'll come up against. You have got to be... You're not even just like... an average attack, a defence only has to worry about one attacker and they can stop that. An okay attack, you have to worry about two options, maybe a tip option or a pull right at the back. And most good defences can cover that pretty well. With France, you've got to worry about 3 or 4 options, because even if you manage to hit the first, their offloading ability amongst the forwards is so good. And they're always creating different options on the offload. They're rolling it and just popping it up, or, they're popping it out the contact, they're popping it up off the floor. I honestly don't know how you defend against that pack.
And I think one of the things that's never really spoke about is how mentally fatiguing it is for a team to defend a team like that, because you knackered physically, but you are constantly trying to figure it out. And when it's like that, you just can't predict it and you can't figure it out, and you just run out of ideas. And I think that is where I felt with Ireland they got to, and that's why the likes of Van der Fleer was mostly anonymous, because you get stuck in this land of indecision of do I or don't I go for it. I think that's where the entire Ireland team ended up. Generally, about the Irish performance, is what are the talking points? What are the big things for you that stood out, and kind of any positives, or is it all really kind of back to the drawing board?
It's all just posing more questions, really. I think they have to see the reality now that Prendergast is not the option at 10 at this time. Just physically not up for it. Jalibert's try was a case in point.
Yeah.
He just got ghosted on the inside so easily when, I'm not saying it's easy to defend Jalibert when you've got Dupont taking the ball off the base of the scrum. I realise that's not a simple thing to do, but you had numbers on, and he's completely got it wrong. I think he was at fault for Lebébé's first try where he volleys it.
Yeah,
which it looks cool to volley it, and he's volleyed it straight down the touch. It's a cool volley. The reality is what he's done is, rather than take a sensible option and reset, he's booted the ball down. Deportes recovered it, and they've gone the other end of the field.
Yeah.
They lost the aerial battle. We know this isn't a traditional strength of France. They picked a team specifically to be good at it, but Attasolpi was very good in the air. Ramos was good in the air. Jalibert was good in the air. But Ireland really didn't lay much of a glove on them. And, when you're picking the likes of Tommy O'Brien and Stockdale and Osborne, who are all big lads, to not get an upper hand in the air there.
Again, all very anonymous performances.
Really anonymous. It would be hard to come up with really any obvious positives for Ireland off the back of this. Prendergast had a nice moment when he put Timoney in with a nice little delayed pass.
Yeah.
But we know he can do that. It's not, and I still think Crowley can do that. But he was so dominated. And, obviously it's tough to be a 10 in a pack that's getting pummeled the way that the Irish pack was. And that is, that is not on him that the pack wasn't going forward. But, he didn't have any kind of impact really with the ball until at least like an hour into the game. I thought Crowley made a bit of a difference when he came on. Even then, it was a bit short-lived. They scored 2 tries in about 5 minutes. And there was a bit of a renaissance there in the middle of that second half. But France never looked that troubled.
Yeah. It felt like it was just the fact that France knew they'd had that in the bag, and Ireland were trying to regather a bit of pride. I don't know. Where do Ireland turn now? Because we're not going to talk about it, obviously. But the England A team did a number on the Ireland A team.
Yeah.
And we've kind of prophesized in the past about the decline in kind of Irish rugby, and they've maybe mistakes they've made not having that pipeline. Are we now seeing the exact thing we've kind of been predicting? Because we're very good at this, Rory, on this podcast, at predicting things.
We're a zeitgeisty pod, and if anything, we're ahead of the zeitgeist. And we were talking about this a while back. Look, I think the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit on this one, but there were some positives in terms of. I thought Clarkson actually did okay at the scrum, held up a couple of times. It wasn't not an easy place to be, and they, ultimately they were dominated at scrum time. But I thought he held it up a couple of times enough to show that he probably could stand up at this level, given time, and probably given more support on the loose head side, where it was a bit less positive, if we're honest. I think Crowley's put his hands up to take on the mantle. I mean, the difficulty is how much do you keep chopping and changing every week, trying to find a winning formula.
Yeah.
But I think Crowley, they've got to give him the keys to the castle at this point. I would, if I was them, you got Italy coming to town this week. We'll talk about Italy's performance a bit later on, but they are going to be coming buoyed. I'd make some changes that were all about creating the most physical impact on the pitch. I would be looking seriously at Adogo. I would be looking at Postlethwaite in the centres, because McCloskey was disappointed. I expected more from McCloskey on this one, to be honest. I would be thinking about Postlethwaite potentially. Look, the reality is some of it is going to have to come from emotional energy, which is not something you don't associate Irish teams with not having the emotional energy in a game, but it didn't feel like they did on this occasion.
No, I think we're seeing a squad of players that just aren't used to being in this position, because they've been quite a dominant force for some time and have been able to be that team like France are now, where you can arm wrestle your way through even if you're not playing well. I think they're not playing well now, and they don't seem to have the answers at all. And maybe it is that emotional energy that they haven't had to harness before. They don't know. They don't have that muscle memory to look back on.
No. And look, if you look down through it, like, I don't think Leinster are the same team they have been. I mean, obviously they're still they did well in the Champions Cup. I think they're still second in the URC. It's not like the arse has fallen out of Leinster, but there's a bit of magic, a bit of fear factor has gone there. They struggled against Bayonne. Quinn's got a bonus point try in Dublin. They don't feel like a Leinster team that you sort of expect. We've talked about Munster are not a particularly good side at the moment. I think Ulster are having a bit of a resurgence, but they're not absolutely tearing up trees. But they're having a massive. They are having a resurgence. It feels like that lack of future planning is potentially going to come down to us. It may just be a sort of a blip, and it's a bit of a stopgap whilst they bring some players up to the level. But my gut feel is they're going to try and rely on some of these older players again. I think they'll bring Aki back in as soon as they can. I think it sounds like Furlong's going to come back in this weekend, which he's a great player. He's one of the all-time greats. But how much rugby has he played in the last year or two? Really, I think they'll probably bring Conan back to start on the back row, maybe Baird if he's fit.
Yeah. So they'll just revert to type and see if
that's my gut feel is what they'll do.
Does the trick.
And look, chances are they'll win this weekend against Italy in Dublin. But there's understandable concerns about this Irish squad at the moment from the Irish fans, and we've talked about it for long enough to. I think we've sort of seen this come in.
Yeah.
And I think, it's one of the things where the decline sort of happens slowly, then it happens all at once. I think we're just starting to see the pace of decline increase a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see where Ireland go next. I think the only other thing on this game is what did you make of the Dupont-Jalibert partnership? Did it look like something that's got legs to it? Obviously, with those two individuals, the ceiling's very high. As a partnership, is that ceiling just as high, or did you see things that would be like you can see why Gaultier didn't go with that straight away?
Well, we talked last week. We thought, my feeling was if the 9, 10, 15 axis meshes and plays well, France will be pretty unstoppable. I think 10 and 15 absolutely did that. I think Jalibert and Ramos were
phenomenal,
absolutely phenoms. I thought they were both brilliant, both as part of executing the game plan and individual moments of brilliance. Ramos's volley, like sliced volley to Le Bébé, it was just outrageous. I think Dupont probably had a more muted game than people would expect from him. Still had some good moments, the little chip ahead before the Ramos volley, the dart off the scrum to put Jalibert in for his try. But I think he's probably still not back to where we expect him to be in the international arena post-injury. But he was by no means bad. I mean, I would say it was a 7 out of 10 performance from Dupont. We just expect him to be 11 out of 10 every week.
Yeah, and a 7 out of 10 Dupont's still a Dupont I want on the pitch.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And actually, it's okay sometimes for the magic to come from Jalibert or Ramos. In the past, Entomac would have just sat back in his armchair and let Dupont play the game. Jalibert probably demands a bit more air in the room and a bit more of the license to be the star man. I don't think that's a bad thing, actually. They will come to a balance, and I suspect Dupont will be doing more Dupont things as the tournament goes on, and maybe things will rebalance slightly. But yeah, I certainly saw enough in this game to think this is definitely worth pursuing with, unless you're any other team, in which case, please don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, it's a strong start from France. The game itself ended 36-14, which, if we were to hark back to last week, where was that in your predictions, Rory? Were you pretty spot on, do you reckon?
Pretty close. So, last week I predicted 32-17 in this game.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. It's pretty much give yourself a pat on the back, I'd say. Not a bad shout at all. Moving on from this French demolition and Irish disappointment, we go into the first fixture on the Saturday, which was Italy versus Scotland. Now, first of all...
Yet more innovation. The Six Nations first underwater match.
Yeah, I think we saw why they don't generally play rugby in monsoon season, because it was torrential and biblical levels of rain, which doesn't make playing rugby the easiest. But, both Italy and Scotland tried their best to try and put on a game. Handling, obviously, not the easiest, and a lot of handling errors, understandably. But I think for this game itself, I think you just dive straight into how good was that Italy performance, considering the conditions.
Well, I mean, I think it was fascinating to watch what happens when you put two international teams into third team regional environment.
Yeah.
And actually it turns out third teams across the country aren't that bad. It literally just happens to anyone who has to play in that kind of
the great leveler.
Yeah, it is the great leveler. It was fascinating to watch. I mean, low on quality as an overall game, but sort of absorbing in its own way, just because I couldn't really take my eyes off wondering whether a player was going to drown. And, I'd never heard players running through puddles through the telly. It's just weird.
It's always good when you see someone kick the ball and then the ball's rolling and then it just stops dead, defying physics.
Yeah, absolutely stops dead. Look, I mean, it's Italy. Italy reaped the rewards of fast start because they scored 2 tries before the rain came and scored 2 really, really good tries.
Yeah.
And Scotland architects their own downfall in the sense of they just didn't turn up in the first 15 minutes. And actually, had the weather not come in, maybe this is a different game. And by the end of it, Scotland win the arm wrestle. But Italy got out the blocks fast, and off their first attack, having already pinched Scotland ball in their own 22. We'll go into some of Zamboni's intervention on this in a bit. But off their kind of first attack, they off a box win 2 penalties, I think. And in the first attack in Scotland, and then they play it away, and Brex puts a lovely kick in behind because, I don't say this as any expert on back 3 play, but even I could tell that Tom Jordan, Jamie Dobie, and Carl State got that 100% wrong. I can't necessarily pinpoint who got it wrong. I'm assuming it's Tom Jordan.
Who'd have thought a back 3 made up of 2 of the players who aren't playing in a natural position would get their positioning wrong? Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brex with a little sort of grubber chip behind into the space and line up, really nice finish, just gasses through and takes the ball well and dives in the corner. And then 6-7 minutes later, they win another penalty, go to a line out, box kick. Lewis Liner retains the ball off the really good take as well. He's sort of leaning right back over himself to collect it, ends up flat on his back. And they play off to the left, and Lamaro, the captain and back rower, puts a pass over the top that Finn Russell himself would have been proud of. Just a lovely looping pass, just to put Menoncello, I think it's easy to forget how quick Menoncello is sometimes, because he has played a bit of wing in the past, but obviously not predominantly an inside centre. Gasses down the left wing. No one lays a glove on him.
He's an athlete. He is a pure athlete.
Yeah, 100%. Just a phenomenal athlete. And then all of a sudden, Italy are 12-0 up after, 15 minutes. And they've already dismantled the Scottish line out in their own 22 twice, 3 times at this point. So Scotland have already blown 2 gilt-edged chances in the red zone. And
Ewan Ashman had a bit of a horror show at the line out, I'd say.
Well,
the pack in general.
He did. I mean, the hooker gets the blame here, and I have some sympathy here because I think it was the whole moving parts of it. They were poor, but also got to credit Zamboni in particular reading it so well and stealing. I think he stole 3 on his own. He absolutely dismantled them. I mean, the whole Italy pack. Should we talk about Ferrari for a minute?
I would happily talk about the Italian pack, man for man, really.
Yeah.
Let's
do that. Let's do that. Front row. All right. Fischetti, perfect in the scrum.
Yeah.
Against Xander Fagerson, who would have been a lot of people's pick to start the Lions. Around the park, everywhere. Hitting breakdowns, making tackles, carrying when he could. His footwork at the gain line is so good for a front rower.
Yeah.
He's so mobile. I thought it was one of his best performances I've seen of him this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those performances that made this time last year as a Saints fan get excited because I'd found out we'd signed him because that's what he's got in his locker. Yeah,
100%. Nicotera, 94% line-out accuracy in those conditions.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Again, everywhere around the park, really physical in defence. Ferrari, I mean, I've seen Scottish scrums struggle. I haven't seen a Scottish scrum with Pierre Schumann and Xander Fagerson starting, give away a penalty whilst getting pushed off their own ball.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, an absolute demolition. I was so glad he was given player of the match because at the work of the front row around the pitch was really, really impressive. But their work dismantling the set piece, and particularly the scrum, was unbelievable because once they'd removed that as a weapon, so much of Scotland's attacking play was muted because they had no set piece to go to. Going into the second row, I thought Canoni and Zamboni were both brilliant. I thought Canoni, he's really abrasive ball carrier in the tight spaces. He just gets, like all good locks should, he just gets that bit of go forward you need to make life a bit easier. He's probably outshone by his brother being at 8. And, number 8s just get the highlight reels more than locks.
Bit flashier.
They are a bit flashier, but he's just such a solid and abrasive and dependable lock. The sort of player that a team like Italy absolutely needs, just pure nuts and bolts. And then Zamboni on the other side, just I mean, we've been impressed with him all season in the Prem. I don't think I'd seen him dismantle a line-out like that at Prem level. To do it at international level is some achievement.
Scotland pack is full of players that will be used to playing with each other, so it's not like he was, picking at a weakness there. That was a pack that is on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, you got Scott Cummins and Grant Gilchrist, both of whom I think have been in Lions squads. You got Jack Dempsey, who you got the whole Glasgow back row. Glasgow are flying at the moment, but Ferguson, Darge, and Dempsey, is their whole back row, and none of them really got into the game, apart from maybe Dempsey to an extent.
I'd say Dempsey had a goodish game considering.
Dempsey had a goodish game. He got well taken try.
Yes,
but that they never go into it. And for some, to dismantle that lineup is really impressive. Lamaro, I mean, I love him. I just love him. He is a captain you would walk through fire for. Heart on sleeve. He is like the beating heart of this Italian team. He seems to relish every aspect of the game, just the physicality of it. He's so combative as well, and he's had to shoulder a lot of responsibility as the captain, and often having to just pull the team forward just through sheer force of will. I just thought he was brilliant once again. I mean, the assist for Melancello's try was one thing. His tackling is
he's
violent.
He is such an underrated back row player at the international level. Like he's never spoken about in like the best back rowers in the world conversation. But just watch him play. He's
in that conversation.
He should be in that conversation for sure. He's got the skills. He's got the technical skills. He's got the physicality. His tackling is right up there with the likes of Underhill in terms of technique and kind of ferocity in the hit. His breakdown work is brilliant, and we saw he's got a little bit of jouet in him as well with the passing.
Got the jouet.
So, like, full package. You can see why he's been named captain of that team from quite a young age as well. Like, he is. You can see why they've built around him.
You would just want to. You would want to do anything you could to help him win, because he's just that kind of player.
Yeah.
Zuliani. I mean, we spoke about it a little bit last week. Zuliani was phenomenal. I mean, I know he had to go off at one point with a fortunate knock after
with a
Ash tried to take it out, wasn't it? It wasn't Ash, was it Turner?
Yeah.
Just a nuisance at the breakdown, just everywhere. And I think he was involved in the holding Scotland up for the maul to finish up the game.
Yeah.
He was just incredible. I thought great engine on him, just a nuggety open side that they haven't. I don't think they've really had one like that since Bergamasco. Just someone who is a nuisance, and he's just strong, and he's got the link play, he's got the skills. They probably haven't had a player like that in their back row since Bergamasco, and the fact that I would put him in that kind of sphere is testament to how highly I rate the way he played. And then the Canoni brother again at number 8, Nicotera is he the 8?
Lorenzo. Nicotera is the hooker's surname.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. My ability with first names is well documented.
You can predict a good game, but you can't remember players' names. It's a burden you got to bear.
No, we've all got holes in our armour. No, as Lorenzo Canoni, I mean, again, really impactful in the carry. He's just dynamic. He's not the biggest number 8 in the world, but he reminds me of someone like Jamie Heaslip, something like that. Just good skills, good toe, and just impactful and clever running lines. He just seems to be in the right places.
Yeah.
To a man, the whole pack, just incredible. And the fact that they had the confidence to see that game out and the ability to see that game out shows how this team has evolved.
Yeah.
In those conditions, that they were just confident, because you saw right at the end, Scotland played most phases of the match, I mean 20 plus phases.
Yeah.
And got quite far up the field, really.
Yeah, I was worried they were going to steal it.
They just managed their offside line, and they just waited for the opportunity when someone got the carry slightly wrong, and they held them up.
Yeah.
I was absolutely impressed by the whole Italian team, but in the performance, I think Fusco as well probably deserves praise at 9, because they're missing Pajarello and Varney are big losses for that team, and actually in other years would have been terminal for their chances.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought he was great, kicked so well. Garbisi, I thought, was absolutely on it in this game as well, kicked incredibly well.
Yeah, they managed the game really well.
Yeah, he did. He had one of those days where his head was firmly attached to his shoulders.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah. Because when he does, he's a top class 10.
Yeah.
He just mentally he doesn't always have it.
Yeah. But it also, I think generally, just it's the Italian defence for me. And I think it's what we've been seeing in these recent years of these Italian sides is maybe they don't necessarily always have that gold dust. They don't necessarily have the game breakers. Defensively, they have just been so resolute. And I think this game, in those conditions, is the difference between them and Scotland. Because Scotland, with all their big-name players, your Tuipulotus, your Hugh Joneses, your Finn Russells, they could not carve a route through that Italian defence. Albeit, I know the conditions were bad, but I credit that more to the Italian defence than I do to the conditions.
No, I do. I think, well, there's a few things I think with Scotland that need to be addressed. Firstly, when it came out, it felt like a brave selection in the back line to go to Carl Stein, Jamie Dobie and Tom Jordan. Ultimately, it did not work out, and they were probably at fault for both tries in one way or another positionally. And allowed Italy to get both their tries, which ultimately made the difference. How many penalties, scoring opportunities in those conditions did they pass up to kick to the corner when their line-out was getting dismantled?
Yeah.
They probably with all the difference that was in that game, they could definitely have won it if they'd just taken the points, just kept and managed the conditions better. And then I think for me, their star players just did not turn up. I thought Finn Russell was bang average again. I thought Huey Pilotu in the centres they were
ineffective.
Yeah. I mean, Tuipulotu had a couple of moments. I thought Hugh Jones was virtually anonymous. When you look at the impact, when Menoncello made that break in those conditions and he made sort of 60 metres up the field, you look at it and go, right, that is everything that the Scotland centres aren't doing at the moment. They're not having game-changing moments. They're not impacting this game.
Yeah.
As I say, Dempsey scored a nice try, which probably came off one of the very few poor defensive reads that Italy made.
Yeah.
George Horn scored a nice try. Again, a poor defensive read by the Garbisi brothers, who overread a dummy and left the space for him to dive in the corner. But there's really no positives, I think, that Scotland can take from this game.
For this golden generation, again, to start off their Six Nations campaign with a loss to Italy.
Yeah. That's not to denigrate Italy, right? But
no.
If you're claiming to have your golden generation, you can't beat Italy in the Six Nations. I'm sorry, something's gone amiss.
But hey, at least Gregor Townsend's got himself a job at the Red Bulls.
Yeah. Well, they may rethink that consultancy.
Yeah, perhaps. There's really not a lot of good to take out of this game from a Scotland perspective. A lot to work on. There may well be a response, but ultimately, for me, it's a tale of two things. Dreadful weather and Italian defence. And it ended with a game at 18-15 to Italy. Where does that stack up in your predictions, Rory?
I predicted that game at Italy 19, Scotland 15.
Could do better than Rory.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. It's not bad to pick out, being 1 point off what was, by the bookmaker standards, an upset. Although, let's face it, Italy were the better team. Moving on, Rory. England versus Wales, the final game of the round. And, lots to talk about, I think, here. Positive for some, less positive for maybe some of our listeners who happen to live or breathe rugby the other side of the seven. Let's start with England. They looked pretty good, didn't they?
They did. I mean, I think my headline for this game is I'm surprised how little I enjoyed this match.
Is it because
given the result?
Is it because it was almost inevitable, and it's a bit like how exciting is it when you go watch a team go put 100 points on another team that's clearly not as good as them? It's not that good to watch.
It isn't that good to watch, and ultimately,
We'll add that isn't what happened.
The result, look, I think we all saw, I mean, spoiler alert, my prediction was pretty close on this one as well. I saw a result like this come in. What I didn't see come in was just the absolute abject lack of fight from Wales in this game. I thought they'd be manful, but they'd get outclassed and overpowered. Ultimately, they just didn't really turn up. Actually, I thought England were good.
They were comfortable.
But I think they were that good.
They were comfortable.
I thought they were. Yeah, I thought, I watched the game back and they were better than I remember the first time. But I still thought they left a lot of points out there, and their discipline wasn't that good. I mean, they had 2 yellow cards themselves. Some of the skills let them down. I mean, Tommy Freeman with a bad pass behind Roebuck.
Yeah.
Little bits like that, against really good sides could really put paid to your chances if you don't take those kind of opportunities when they come along. Marcus Smith and Ben Spencer both. Actually, I didn't think the bench had nearly as good an impact as it usually does. Henry Pollock get the penalty try, but let's be honest, he butchered a try not scoring opportunity. I mean, that's maybe a lesson of where international rugby is different to club rugby. Get the ball down.
Yeah. It's just poor body positioning. That's all.
Yeah. But it was so comfortable. I mean, I felt like it was really reflecting the atmosphere. Unless it was the sound of the crowd was not being broadcast properly, but it felt like the atmosphere was dead in the second half.
Well, it
just felt like
it was poor weather again, which doesn't necessarily make for great spectacle from the stands.
I don't know that it was the poor weather that was the problem. I think it was just the lack of jeopardy in the game and the lack of it. In some ways, it felt like watching a bit of a training run.
Yeah.
Because it felt like sort of nominal opposition, but without being like really committed opposition. And that sounds harsh. And I don't like to be the guy criticising pro players and saying that they didn't care or don't try, or none of which I think is true. But the Welsh performance, we talked last week that how do we think the Welsh would be able to manage emotionally with everything that's going on in the game? I think in this game, what we saw was mentally they just weren't there. Like gifting penalties. I mean, the early one where I can't remember if it was Daft Jenkins or Adam Beard. They win a line out in England's 22, and for no good reason they block him off in the offside in the maul. Which you don't need to do. You just don't need to do it. There's so many other ways to set up that line out without doing that. Dewi Lake not tapping the ball on the 5 metre line when they got an opportunity. Yeah. It's gifting penalties under pressure. Nicky Smith getting himself sent off after an accumulation of penalties because he's hit a maul too early. It's just poor. It's really poor. It would be poor at a club level. It was really poor at this level, and they got punished for it. I don't really take any pleasure out. I didn't really take a lot of pleasure out of this game because without the kind of the jeopardy and the bite that you sort of want from these games, I didn't really feel like. I didn't really feel anything towards this game. Do you know what I mean?
It's in the nicest possible way, and no disrespect to kind of Italy in the noughties, but it was a bit like when England used to play Italy in the noughties, where it was just. That is
exactly the thought I had. Do you know what it felt? It really felt like Italy Sunday game in the Six Nations when it was
Bergamasco at 9.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt. When you'd get like tickets on the school trip to go and watch England Italy on the Sunday, and it was like 50 points to 7, and you're like, it's
lovely day out.
Great,
few Mexican waves.
Yeah, I've seen us win, but there was nothing. There was nothing really in it, and I don't know. I feel like I need the Murrayfield game this week to kind of get myself into the kind of the England title charge. I need that kind of bite because this game didn't really give it to me. Now, that's not to take anything away from how good England were for their tries. I think poor pass aside, Tommy Freeman was excellent. Yeah. I think his best performance in centre for a few weeks actually, and you could see what he could do. The gain line. I mean, his post-contact meters has been talked about a fair bit already this week. Yeah. Just brilliant. I really like him and Dingwall's partnership.
Yeah, it's strong. It's really good. I like it.
I don't know if it's the long-term solution there, but it's certainly working at the moment. And I like everything about what Dingwall does in the game because, calling him a glue player feels quite hacky now.
Yeah.
But I think when he put Arundel in for his hat-trick, when Ben Thomas pulls the ball back to no one and it goes loose, and Dingwall just picks it up, takes a step, but goes, oh, Arundel's out there, I'll give that to him to run it in. It's absolutely the right decision at the right time to facilitate the right players. He doesn't seem to have an ego as a player, and I like players with ego. Like I like Henry Pollock.
Yeah.
But I also like players with an absolute lack of ego who just wants the team to succeed. I think George Ford has this. George Ford, I thought, was brilliant. He would have been my man of the match as well.
Yeah. The way he managed the game with his kicking.
Just, the pass to Arundel for his first try, superb, just flat across the front of the whole back line. His kicking was great. And then his just metronomic commitment to the game plan. Just constantly going, no, we're not messing about. We're not going to do the things just because people want us to go mad because we're playing Wales. We're sticking to the game plan. We're applying the game plan. And we're going to grind them into the dust with the way that we want to play.
Yeah, it was very England to go for the posts at the first opportunity, get that penalty kick rather than go to the corner like every other team would do in World Rugby. I think it's very much setting a stall out that we're taking the competition seriously. We've got a plan. We're going to stick to it.
Yeah, I just thought it's not going to get you loads of highlight reels playing the way that George Ford does. He's not going to do what Marcus Smith does for Quins. But every time I watch George Ford in an England shirt, I just feel like we're going to win.
Yeah.
He just seems to have that ability to put England in a position to win. And I don't care if we win 9-3 if we win a World Cup. I want us to win a World Cup. I want us to win a Six Nations. I want us to win the Nations Championship.
Yeah.
And I just feel like George Ford is going to get us there.
Yeah, it's a shame he can't do that for Sale Sharks, isn't it?
Yeah.
But hey, he's got some excellent players at his disposal at the England level. I also thought Ben Earl showed exactly why he, for a long time, was England's answer at 8. I thought he was fantastic. His ball carrying is exactly what got him the job all those years ago. It's always a tricky one because in the Prem, obviously we watch the Prem week in, week out. I've felt he's been really quiet and not really done any of what we saw in this game. So it always makes me wonder, like, what is it? Is it just the England camp? Is it that pressure to perform when you're in camp to justify you being that player selected that brings out these performances in these players who I think for most of them will probably hold their own hands up and say they've not been tearing up trees at club level, but when it comes to the England shirt, they seem to be able to find new levels quite consistently, and Ben Earl's definitely one of them.
It's test match animal. It's just that phrase, test match. There is something about the international arena that makes some players grow and some players shrink, and it's why the sort of fans forum debate of players they want to see picked, players they want to see in an England shirt is often irrelevant, because what you're not seeing is the intangibles of which players thrive at level. It's why Owen Farrell was loved by successive coaches.
Yeah,
despite everyone wanting someone else picked there. Test match animal. Ben Earl grows in an England shirt, and he punches above his weight. His ability to be effective in the wide channels, whether he's at 8, whether he's at 7, whether he's at 12, his effectiveness in the tackle, his effectiveness in the jackal, ignore form for Saracens when it comes to someone like Ben Earl. Same for someone like Maro Itoje. Not necessarily his best showing today, coming on and getting sim gained within 15 seconds.
Yeah, good work.
But these are the type of players that you can ignore club form. Eddie Jones always used to talk about this. You can ignore club form for some players. Club forms are relevant when it comes to some players because their performances in the international arena are just different. It's an intangible thing with someone like Ben Earl. I think similar to someone like Tom Curry.
Yeah.
They
find levels.
They find levels, and they're not cowed by the occasion. They embrace the occasion, and I think that's it's why I think ultimately Henry Pollock will become a phenomenal Test match player, because people who embrace that pressure and that cauldron will, assuming they've got all the skills and ability which someone like Henry Pollock does, they will be successful in that arena, because you can't not if you're able to handle the occasion itself. So players like that you have to keep around. I want to give it a shout as well too. I thought Alex Coles was very good actually. I thought quietly good the whole game, but he was overshadowed by his partner on this occasion.
Oh, Ollie Chesham had a fantastic game. Yeah, absolutely.
45 meters carrying. Clean break from a lock.
You love to see it. You love to see a lollop of a lock going down the pitch, just players dangling off their limbs. It's just fantastic.
A lolloping giraffe. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
He's got good toe, hasn't he, Chazza, really?
He has got good toe. He's got good hands. This is why he's been so highly rated for such a wage. And like defensively, he bangs, like he hits hard.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm very effusive about Alex Coles. I think Alex Coles is on the brink of becoming a world-class lock. I think Ollie Chesham's in the same category. It's just a shame that we've got him, Mara Itoje, like those three. There's two positions. You can only you can't put all three of them on. Although, you can put Coles at 6, but you know.
It's a shame for one of them, but it's not a shame for England because having lots of that quality available is and you think of the likes of players like George Martin who aren't there at the moment. There's good options around there.
Well, I think on that as well. Like historically, we thought, we can get them on the pitch at 6. Do we talk about Guy Pepper?
I mean, is it too early to start calling him Pecor?
No, I don't think it is too early. He's something about him. I was reading something. Forgive me, my memory, for obvious reasons over the last week, is losing me. But he's being kind of compared to some all-time great back rowers.
You can see why. You can absolutely see why because there's very little wrong with his game.
I'm starting to think. I know we've been all Pollock mania, and I'm still Pollock mania. But is Pepper also one we should be as excited about? Because he may not be as flashy, but his fundamentals, his defense, so I was calling it when he was at Newcastle. I thought his defensive skills at the breakdown, his tackling was incredible. Seeing him in an England shirt, I can't help but feel we found our 6 for the next 10 years.
I mean, I'll tell you who I'd compare him to, Richard Hill.
Yeah.
He's not brash or flash. He's not going to do what Pollock does. But you don't actually need everyone to do that. It's nice when someone like that comes along. I think having a player of that ability who just does everything well all the time, constantly, and has a constant impact on the game. I think you're right. I think he's owned up that number 6 shirt for some time to come. There may be other questions asked of him in the future. There may be other players who can ask the question as to whether they're the answer at 6, but I don't see how anyone supplants him at the moment because the fact that he's 6'4" and can do all the things that any other back rower can do, got the engine that he has, the strength he has.
Yeah,
I mean, he is sort of archetypal back rower.
Yeah,
and actually, there's something about one day seeing Pepper and Pollock on either side of the flanks that is very exciting.
Yeah, there's always something like you were saying about the French back rowers. About there's something French about him almost in the way he plays.
Yeah,
in that he's like an all-court player.
Yeah. He's not really a specific back rower.
No,
he could be good in any of those positions, but
it's.
I think you need. I say we always talk about super strengths. It's not that he has a super strength. It's just that all of his strengths are super.
Yeah.
It's there's no weakness to his game.
There's not one I can see at all.
Yeah, I'm stays injury free, but he's
one to be excited about. I think
100%.
I also think he's going to keep getting better.
You can see.
He feels like one of those players that he's just. I have a feeling he's like almost a bit of a student of the game, and he'll keep working on it. So yeah, it bodes well. It bodes really well for England rugby and annoyingly Bath rugby because they picked him up. Wales. Is there anything we really want to pick at with the Welsh performance? Because I think Reece Samet, he had one nice break, but
a couple of decent. He did right under the high ball. To be fair, under the spiral bombs.
Yeah. All credit due, he handled the spiral bombs really well, which well documented how hard they are to defend.
Yeah,
he got under those and he got them.
I think he showed enough to say he should retain his shirt this week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advocate for changing the other 14 shirts, but if they did it, you could justify it.
Yeah.
Just second best to everything. Let's be real about it. Absolutely second best in every department, and in most departments, not even a close second.
Yeah.
No impact in defence, barely any impactful carries. Mentally weak, tactically weak.
Poor discipline.
Dreadful discipline. Both under pressure, which you can understand, but also under no pressure, which you can't understand. And that's ultimately, if they fix the unforced errors, they still probably lose this game. But it's at least
a bit more respectable.
Well, at least it's not as embarrassing. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah,
it was an embarrassing performance. Other than Reece Zammit, I don't think anyone really comes out with credit.
I thought Thomas Williams was okay.
Okay, but let's be honest. We know the levels of Thomas Williams, and it wasn't him.
No, yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, so for both these teams, then, where do England turn? Because sometimes it is tricky going into the second game when you've had quite an easy run out.
Well, England are traditionally very slow starters to the Six Nations.
Yeah.
In some ways, a sort of training match level test, like a warm-up, it's almost a warm-up match, right?
Yeah, if anything, it might work wonders for them.
They'll have found some things to fix. There are things to fix there. They need to fix the discipline. They need to be more ruthless.
Yeah.
But winning the game that comfortably with things to improve on is not a bad position to be in. And they'll need to improve to beat Scotland in Murrayfield. Not just because we've got a bad record there, but because Scotland will be charged for this one.
Yeah. They all want to react. Well, obviously, we've been blessed again by Borthwick by him announcing the team early doors. Do you agree with the changes he's making, bringing in Itoje and Cowan-Dickie?
Yes,
George and Coles?
I do. I think you have to start Itoje.
Yeah, he's captain. Yeah,
ultimately, and Chesham shades it over Coles on this occasion. No shame on Coles. Chesham was just very good. I think Cowan-Dickie's physicality in the early stages is going to be really important, and I think Jamie George's calmness in the last half an hour, when it's going to be a cauldron, is going to be really important. So I'm happy with that. I'm a bit perplexed by the Finn Smith for Marcus Smith call on the bench.
Yeah, I've seen there's potential exposure in certain injury circumstances, aren't there? Because there's basically no cover for anyone in a shirt that is higher than 10.
Yeah, I assume it would be Finn Smith to 12, Freeman to fullback, or Freeman to the wing, Arundel to fullback. But
Harry Pollock or Ben Earl into the centres, obviously.
Yeah, potentially right. So I'm a bit perplexed by that one, but I'm broadly fine with it because I assume they've got a plan for what they're doing. I just can't necessarily see it. But yeah, so I think those changes are fine. And I think if England build on what they've done this last weekend, they'll have too much for Scotland.
Keep your powder dry, Rory. We'll move on to predictions soon. I'll also touch on once we get through our team of the week, Rory, I'll touch on why Wales need not be completely devastated. But we're going to quickly do our team of the week. Before we do, just point out, that game ended 48-7 to England, by the way. It was that much of a one-way traffic. Didn't even need to take notice.
I predicted 45-12, by the way. Just
again, not good enough. Team of the week, Rory. What did you have? Because I'll be honest, my team of the week is made up of players from 3 nations and 3 nations alone.
Yeah, same. Lou said Fischetti came very clse, but I've gone with Grow.
Okay, I'm fine. I went for Fischetti. No biases at all for his club. I'll just put it out there. I went for an entire Italian front row team of the week for me.
My other two is Nicotera and Ferrari. Yeah.
So Gross coming in for Fischetti. Yeah, fine. I'm not gonna argue about that. I think he was very good. My second row. I know numbers may not necessarily add up, but I went Chesham and Guillard.
Yeah, I think Chesham just shades out Zamboni for me, but yeah, I think I would go Chesham and Guillard. Zamboni was really close to getting it for me, though. I think he was excellent, but you can't argue with the carry-on work of the other two.
No. I get. So I ummed and ahed over Zambonin and Canoni I think both of them had a really good week as well. As did Coles, to be fair, and as did Oliver for France. It's really quite easy. You can't really get a pick wrong here out of these three nations. My 6 was Pepper.
My 6 was Lamaro.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, so maybe I got my numbers wrong. So I got Lamaro as my 7.
Well, Lamaro was at blindside. My 7, it could be Giroud, but I'm going to go with Zuliani. I thought Lamaro and Zuliani was so good.
Well, my back row of the week was Pepper, Lamaro, and Earl. I know they're not in position as they would be, but that's my back row.
Early's at 8 for me. Early's at 8. I went Lamaro, Zuliani, Earl.
Not going to argue with you too much. You're 9 and 10, Rory.
9, I'm going to go with Fusco.
Okay.
Because I thought he was excellent in tough conditions, kicked extremely well, and he was under a lot of pressure with the first 2 choice 9s being out. Fusco just shades it for me. And at 10, I had George Ford. I think that's...
So
I think Jalibert was brilliant. So I think Garbisi had a really good game, but for me, George Ford.
Yeah, I do think that context probably is quite important. But I did go Dupont just because I know he said he had a 7 out of 10 performance, but I still think a 7 out of 10 Dupont still walks into most teams of the week. He still picked up a couple of assists. Like some of his work in the loose, like his ability to bounce out of tackles to just keep plays moving, like no one else can do it. So I went Dupont and Ford. I think Ford was the standout 10 for me. I agree. Jalibert, fantastic. 2 wingers.
2 wingers. It'll have to be Beep.
Louis BLBRA to any new listeners.
Yes. And Azzurri was great. I thought Roebuck was really good. Oh, can I not give it to Arundel? He got a hat trick, but it's a bit of a tap-in hat trick.
So I've gone Beep and Arundel because he did get a hat trick, albeit it was probably the easiest hat trick of his career.
I think I would just shade it to Lewis Liner,
Okay, interesting.
Scored 1 and was instrumental in setting up the second and was just generally really, really solid throughout that game.
You could probably make an argument that he probably played some of the better rugby overall than Arundel. So I'm fine with that. Yeah. Your 2 centres.
Menoncello and Freeman. I think that one... I mean, Mofana and Deporter were phenomenal. Breck's a really nice touch for Lewis Liner's try. Dingwall, we talked about, very good, but Menoncello was the standout in the Italy-Scotland game, and Freeman was the standout.
Yeah. I got the exact same. And do I need to guess who your fullback is? Your man crush?
It's Tomo Ramos.
It has to be Tomo Ramos. He's so good. His place kicking is it's metronomic. What he does ball in hand, the way he moves that team around, his playmaking ability, his ability just to kind of actually break the line and make some really smart runs as well. What a player. And that volley. That's our team of the week. But I will give any Welshness out there a little glimmer of hope, because we're not going to dig into the entirety of the other 26 nations. But I will talk very briefly about the England versus Wales under 26 Nations game, because it's the only one of the games I've been able to watch so far. And I know our avid listeners are keen to know how the under 20s are going. And not for a very, very late rally, Wales were very, very close to winning this game, deservedly. And conditions were poor, so a bit of a theme across the weekend. But their team, led by the fantastic Carwyn Leggett-Jones, who I think really is a player that Welsh fans should be getting excited about. Almost enough for me to start sitting there thinking, maybe you should get him into the first team because he's that good. His game management was fantastic. And they got a number of players who are really, really ones to keep an eye out. And I think Dejan Gwyn of Gloucester, he had one hell of a performance in the 8 shirt for the Wales of the 20s. Yeah. It's just they had this physicality and this passion that we just haven't seen from the senior side for a long, long time now. And they really, really made what was a star-studded England team with the likes of Kaluri in it, and McParland. Not McParland, Lucas Friday. Like, some players who are getting regular game time in senior men's rugby really, really kept them out of the game. And I just want to give any Welshists out there is light at the end of the tunnel. If that's what your under-20s are like this year, the future is coming. It's not all doom and gloom.
They seem confident about their under-18s as well.
Yes, yeah. So I don't know what it is, because let's face it, the system and everything in place in Wales isn't working. But the players coming through seem to be doing it in spite of the systems that they have currently in place.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that I can give a little bit of a glimmer of hope to the listener out there, because there's some genuinely exciting players coming through the Welsh system that I think they should be excited about. Obviously, England still went and won it, because that's what England under-20s do. They find ways to win ugly because they are just they're those guys. But I just wanted to give Wales a little bit of something to be happy about there.
Oh, it's good of you.
I'm a giving guy, and I don't. We've spoken about many times. We don't like to see Wales in the position they are at. I seen a little glimmer of hope to give them a bit of optimism, and I took it, Rory.
Well, that's good. That's good of you. That's good of you. I'm sure Cousin Griff will appreciate it.
That's purely for you, Cousin Griff. Now, I'll give you two options, Rory. Would you like to review your fantasy rugby performance this week, or would you like to do some predictions for round 2 of the Six Nations?
Let's do some predictions for round 2. I don't need to go on about how I'm top of all the leagues I'm in and all that, and how good I did.
Joint top of the ruck, smalls, overballs, I will say. Joint top. It's not a sole position. But yes, you've done very well. So predictions-wise, let's start off with the first game of round 2, Ireland versus Italy, which, if you were to ask me this maybe 8 days ago, I might have been tempted to say a comfortable win for one direction, but what are we thinking, Rory?
The honest answer is I'd love to predict Italy to win this, but I'm expecting a response from Ireland here. And my gut feel says that Ireland win this one, not as comfortably as they have in the past. I mean, Italy have a bad record of backing up wins, but I think they'll back up with a performance. I would guess 32-20 to Ireland.
Okay. I can see where you're coming from. I do think we see a response from Ireland, and obviously Ireland at the Aviva is a very different beast to an Ireland on foreign soil. And Italy, I'm not sure. Someone will have to write in and let us know whether Italy have ever travelled to the Aviva and won there before.
Never won in Ireland, as far as I'm aware.
No, I don't think so. So it will be one hell of a feat to achieve. But if ever an Italian side were to do it, now is as best of opportunity they're going to get, I think, until recent times. But I am inclined to agree with you, Rory. I see an Ireland win, but I still see it being 10 points in it, so maybe like a 29-19, 28-18, something like that.
Yeah.
That's where I see this one landing. Then, hopefully, the mouth-watering prospect of Murrayfield. It's always good to see Murrayfield in the Six Nations. It's a fantastic stadium. We've spoken about it many times before, especially when England go there to visit, and that's what we get to see on Saturday. Where do you see this game going?
I'm still expecting a response from Scotland. I mean, I think they have to be emotionally charged. I think England will have to manage a firecracker of an atmosphere. I think they'll have to manage Scotland coming out of the blocks. If they do that, and I believe they can, I think eventually they will overcome and win this game. I would predict this to be Scotland 15, England 22.
Okay, so you're not predicting an overly high scoring fixture.
I think it'll be absolutely physical, really, really highly competitive, and I think there will be a score in it. But I'm expecting England to come out on top.
Okay, no, I agree. I think England come out on top here. I think a lot of it's going to be down to how well the matchup is between Huapalotu and Dingwall and Freeman. Because obviously, if they find a way to expose what would be still a relatively inexperienced centre partnership, could make life a little tricky on the day. But I do think England will have the answers to that in the long run, and I do think they'll be able to come out on top. So I agree. I was thinking maybe we'll see a bit more tries, the weather pending.
I'm just looking at it now, and I mean, fingers crossed. It looks like it's going to be crap every day, snowing Friday, but sunny on Saturday.
Well, assuming that the ground sheets are on and the turf is going to be lovely, I reckon that we're going to see like a 32-25 or something like that to England.
Okay. Well, I'd be happy if it's that kind of scoreline as long as we win.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Sunday fixture, where maybe we might see a few tries scored. Wales versus France.
I mean, I'm so hopeful of a Welsh response, at least just in performance terms. It's difficult to see where that's coming from at the moment, but let's let's hope that there's a bit of an atmosphere and the Welsh fans get on board and turn up and cheer the boys on. Ultimately, this will still be a pretty comfortable victory for France. I would guess something in the region of 40 points to 15.
Yeah, well, all the stories coming out.
Yes,
Yeah, like they're struggling to sell out the tickets for all the Welsh games. Like I'm wondering how much of a force the fans may be, because I think they may have had enough, even to the point where they don't turn out for the national team, which has always been a bit of a bedrock for them. And I think France will be too good. I think that we'll see a rotated France team. There's talk of them rolling out Brabrouet and Gaeton, the Po centres. But I still think they are world-class operators. And I think even a rotated France team is going to put 50 points on Wales. I think we're going to see at least 50 and maybe a try or two for Wales. So maybe 52-14. That's where I see it going. So
yeah,
get Thomas Ramos and Lamaro in your fantasy teams, people. If you hadn't already, we've given you all that advice last week. Anyone who didn't take our advice, because yes, Rory maybe sat at top. I'm only a handful of points behind him in fourth, or wherever I am. Game on! But yeah, we go again. I love the Six Nations. What a time to be alive and watching rugby, Rory. But I think that's it, Rory. Is there anything else you want to touch on around the Six Nations or anything at all before we bring the podcast to a close?
No, look, I think this weekend, ultimately, I think all eyes are on Murrayfield. I think the other two games may not be quite as showstoppers as the other ones. I think the game in Murrayfield is absolutely one to watch, 100%, whoever you support.
I agree with you, Rory, but I did have one bone to pick with you.
Go on.
We spoke over messaging services over the weekend and the week, and you seem to have no issue with broadcasting companies taking away the right of the watcher of the setup of scrums by putting silly little adverts alongside the picture, taking away the attention of a nation from what is the glorious part of the game, the scrum. Yeah. Why do you support the deprioritization of the thing about rugby we love so much?
Whoa. Let's not put words in my mouth. I don't support it. I just said I was entirely unbothered by it. One of the adverts, as I recall, happened whilst Ollie Chesson was getting his boots done up. So let's not pretend we missed loads then. We just got to be grown up about it. They need to find a way to make money. I think they can do better. I think they can do it better. I don't think you have to do a split screen.
Why do we need to find ways for a television company to make more money? That money isn't filtering into rugby.
Well, if you find a way to sell advertising space during a game, you increase the value of the TV rights, so the next TV deal will be worth more. So,
did you watch the Super Bowl, Rory?
Bits of, yeah.
How boring is it with all those adverts? Is that what you want rugby to turn into?
Well, it can't quite turn into that because Bell is specifically designed to get more adverts into, advertising space available.
Well,
they're not going to change the way rugby's played in order to do this, but a bit of dead air just to get one or two adverts in. I mean, look, I wouldn't do a full split screen. I'd have something go along the bottom of the screen or a minimization thing. I don't think you need to do a full split screen of it, but by and large, I mean, I don't care.
I just don't like how they've picked on the scrums. It's just this worldwide narrative of making the scrums less important, Rory. I am not here for it. I want to stand against it. There's parts of the world where they're wanting to take away the scrum as options as free kicks. They're trying to depower the scrum. Now the TV companies are coming for the scrums too, Rory, and I don't like it.
I think, look, maybe I'm naive here, but I think you're potentially going too far with they're going to take.
Maybe I've not had enough sleep.
Someone might be being a new parent and is being impossible.
No, I'm not. But on that note, Rory, I think I've picked my bone, and I feel much better for it.
Consider my bone picked.
Be very careful of how we use those words. But I am going to bring the podcast to a close once we get Rory's final thought.
Au revoir, Wales. Allez les bleus.
There you have it, folks. We be rucks, bulls, and oval bulls. We hope you've enjoyed listening and you come back again next week. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and all those other fun things. And ultimately, we'll see you next week. Ta-ra!
Ta-da.